Welcome back to the John Fredericks Show. It's 9:40, and on the line with us, Terry Jarrett, energy attorney and consultant and former commissioner on the Missouri Public Service Commission. Terry, welcome to the John Fredericks Show. You're with Colonel Mike. Good morning.
It's good to be with you.
Terry, the reason I wanted to have you on the show, you wrote an article about Washington. This is the title they put in there, which was like funny. Washington can help coal cleaner. Washington doing anything. So it caught my eye. I thought it was like a good oxymoron, but then I started to read it, and I said, gee, I got to get in touch with you and get you on the show because, as you know, we're in Virginia, and right next to us is West Virginia, which we also know, a.k.a. Best Virginia, and then it's Kentucky, and it's all about coal. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're thinking and what the new administration can do, because Donald Trump said he would like to bring those energy jobs back and bring those coal jobs back.
Yes, well, thank you, Colonel Mike, first of all, for having me on, and I appreciate the kind words about the article. And, I was a Missouri Public Service Commissioner, utilities regulator here in Missouri for 6 years, and my law practice and consultant work is in the energy field. So that has been my focus for many, many years. And so, Missouri is similarly situated to states like Kentucky and West Virginia. Not so much the coal mining, but certainly the vast majority of our electricity here in Missouri is generated by coal. Mm-hmm. So it's always been a very concerning thing to me as the Obama administration has pushed forward its clean energy agenda, which means renewable energy, and of course, the big piece of that is the war on coal, to shut down coal plants, to shut down coal mining, and he's systematically done that over the last 8 years, culminating with the EPA's Clean Power Plan, which would shut down about 40% of our nation's coal fleet and replace it with, less reliable and more costly forms of energy like renewables. And so I was very pleased when Donald Trump started talking about energy, because a lot of the media doesn't really, look at both sides of this. And so when he came out and said, we're going to have a domestic energy policy where we use our domestic resources, all of the above strategy, we need to use coal, we need to use natural gas, mm-hmm. we need to use, oil. He really had a comprehensive energy policy to do that. And now that he's been elected, he's certainly following through on that. With the appointment of Scott Pruitt, the Oklahoma Attorney General, to head the EPA. He's been very instrumental in fighting a lot of these EPA regulations in court for the states. Rick Perry, former governor of Texas, is going to be the new energy secretary. Of course, Texas is a great energy state. Mm-hmm. They've got the shale for natural gas, fracking. They have oil. They've been a leader in the energy industry for a long time. So, roughly, he understands the use of fossil fuels and really in all of the above strategies. So it's going to be a good fit.
Well, roughly 200. You say 200 U.S. coal plants have closed in recent years. That's a lot of jobs, Terry.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the big thing here is number one, the jobs, because there's lots of jobs that have already disappeared, and unless we can turn the ship around, there's going to be a lot more. But also, it affects the price of our electricity for consumers. It affects the reliability of the grid, because coal is such a reliable and affordable source. Coal plants can run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can bet now with this big cold snap in the Midwest. Today, I woke up this morning, it was 2 degrees below zero here in mid-Missouri. Coal plants are running full steam 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during this cold snap. So we need the coal. Again, it's providing jobs and it's providing good, affordable energy for consumers.
Well, before I ask you my next question, I just want to say, I think Capitol Hill, the Senate, Congress buildings, and probably Supreme Court and other buildings in that area all run on coal. They're still running on coal. There's no wind energy in those buildings up on Capitol Hill. So, they're a little bit, how would you say it, fake? I guess that's the best word. And when they want to push stuff on you. But the better thing is the technologies today are much better than they were a dozen years ago or 10 years ago or 8 years ago. I'm sure this country has technology where we can have a cleaner burning coal. Do you agree?
Oh, that's very true. I agree completely, and that's one of the things that President Trump, I think, shows the promise of promoting and encouraging. We all want clean air, we all want clean water, and I think everybody pretty much understands that if we're going to continue to use coal long into the future, we need to have these new technologies to not only have it non-polluting, clean emissions, but we also need the carbon taken out, because so many people today, whether you're a skeptic or not, so many people today want carbon-free electricity. So there's clean coal technology, carbon capture and sequestration is one of those, where you use a chemical process to basically take the carbon and separate it out as it's being burned and sequester it into the ground. You also have good technologies on supercritical boilers, where they burn the coal at such a high temperature it actually burns a lot of the carbon with it. So there's lots of good research going on. There's some pilot projects. I think there's 3 projects in North America where they're building some small-scale plants to test some of this technology. So it just needs, support. I think that's one thing where Washington, instead of trying to shut things down, should be encouraging innovation and new technologies so that we can continue to use the domestic energy reserves that we have.
Is there any money being allocated for, let's say, STEM programs, for higher education, for students to come up with some new inventions or new technologies? I'm sure there must be money allocated.
There is some, but I think most of the focus, of course, has just been to try to shut coal down. The president had, his EPA regulations, number one. He had the moratorium on federal leases for mining, not just coal, but other mines as well. And about 40% of our coal that we get in this country, a lot of people don't know, comes from federal lands.
Wow.
And so it would be a devastating blow if all of those plants were shut down. Those are primarily in the West, Wyoming, and so forth.
But Terry, we do sell coal to India and China, right? And they use coal power plants for energy to create jobs and products. So how do you compete in a global environment, aside from the energy for our homes? How do you compete in global environment and global trade when the other people have cheap labor and they're using coal? You can't.
That's exactly right. You can't. And the economic parts of this and is the thing that has always been ignored by the current administration. Gina McCarthy, who is the administrator of the EPA currently, even admitted that this clean power plan that they are implementing or trying to implement is largely symbolic. She gave a speech and said it was largely symbolic. It just shows that we're going to be a leader in climate change, and it'll inspire the rest of the world to follow us.
So it's the new religion. Well, it's basically the climate change, the new religion. That's what it is.
Exactly. And guess what? China, India, other parts of Asia, and the developing world continue to build new coal plants. They continue to use it because it is reliable, it's affordable, and as you say, it creates jobs, it powers their economies so that their economies can grow. But you never hear the environmental left talking about how this is going to affect our economy. The consequences of this clean power plan and these other initiatives by the current administration, affect real people. They cost jobs. They cause manufacturers who have to pay increased electricity prices to move their plants somewhere else where they can get cheaper energy. So, what's symbolic to the EPA administrator has very real consequences to people's jobs and our economy.
Mm-hmm. Have you spoken to the state delegations, the delegates and senators in West Virginia, Kentucky, and Virginia?
I have certainly have known, as it's my time as a state regulator, some of the my counterparts in the public service commissions and public utility commissions in Kentucky, West Virginia, and so I commiserate, or used to commiserate with them about the direction we were heading, because coal is still very important in Virginia, as you said, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Missouri. It certainly is a big deal and going to be very, very consequential. If we don't get this ship turned around and come to a more reasonable energy policy.
Do you have a website or a blog that people can read some of your stuff?
Well, certainly my Twitter is at Terry Jarrett, and a great website where a lot of my articles appear is www.countoncoal.org.
Count on Coal. I'm going to look this up myself. .org. Okay. Yeah, because this is this is needed, and not just jobs, but for lower cost. I mean, the electric that I pay where I live is probably, I don't know, a little bit more than Virginia, a little bit less than Kentucky. However, I'm on total electric now where I live, and some of the new homes are built like that. And I live in a place where we got a lot of coal. I'm just hoping for cheaper energy rates. I just think the new religion is what's triggering all this mass unemployment. And, it's just like with Volkswagen. I look at Volkswagen, and I was in the automobile industry for years. To me, that was a total shakedown. I mean, GM built cars where people died and they paid $1 million or $10 million in settlements. You're talking about billions of dollars on a clean diesel car that, they say it emitted so much pollution, but you never smelt the stuff. It doesn't smell like a school bus or a truck, So, I can see new technologies, and I hope that the new administration pulls people in like you for testimony. Are you lined up with some of your state people to come to Washington in a future date?
Yes, I would. I'd love to, and I plan to do that because it is very important, and that's why I applauded President-elect Trump for his very reasonable views. I mean, he realizes we need all of the above. We need everything we have here: coal, natural gas, oil, nuclear. And we even need renewables in some parts of the country make sense.
They make sense, yeah.
They're
not
never
everywhere.
going to take over baseload generation like coal or nuclear or natural gas, but there certainly is a place for them. And so we just need to make sure that Washington, we want to keep their feet to the fire on this and continue along this path of developing all of these and using technology and innovation to solve our problems and not government regulation.
Well, Terry, we look forward probably to get you back on after next year, get you on a couple of more times, continue the conversation on energy and coal. And we thank you for coming on. Wish you Merry Christmas, which you're allowed to say now, and Happy New Year.
And Merry Christmas to you, Colonel Mike. I've enjoyed being on your show and would love to come back.
All right. Thank you, sir. Pleasure having you.
Take care.